o'clock on Wednesday, April 30th, time for our weekly meeting of the Logansport Board of Public Works and Safety. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which I stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Franklin.
Here.
Chris Armstrong.
Here.
Ron Miller.
Present.
Approval minutes from the April 23rd, 2014 meeting.
I've reviewed the minutes for April 23rd. I'd make a motion that we approve them as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, passes on a vote of 3-0. Approval of claims in the amount of $177,038.65.
I reviewed the claims. I would make a motion we approve as presented the claims in the amount of $177,038.65.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, it passes on a vote of 3-0. There are no licenses for consideration. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No.
Hearing none. Are there any visitor comments?
None.
All right, none. Under old business, Code Enforcement Officer. That's first.
You have photos of 3 properties. The property owners were requested to appear today. The addresses are 1000 Van Tower, 700 Washington Street, 510 21st Street. I'll leave it up to the board's discretion to decide what you want to do with all 3 properties.
You need the pictures. Time? Can you update us what you just said? And make the motion.
Okay. Is there anyone here for 521 21st Street? Okay, he was here 2 weeks ago, and I do know that on the wood piles he is or has been working on them. We told him the last time he was here, that we would continue to work with him as long as he cut it down and would move it toward where the alley is so that the street department can pick it up. There is a big pile of wood sitting there. I'm not sure why it's not out by the alley, but we would like to continue to monitor this and give him another 2 weeks and have him back in here.
Okay.
And that is a motion.
I'd second that.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? I would like to also note just an observation in one of the photographs regarding the pile of wood. It appears as if the tree has maybe been damaged. Maybe, I don't know if wind took out the limb or what, but it looks like it's relatively new as far as the loss of the limb and the tree. Looks like it's a fresh cut. So it does appear that he's making some progress on it. That would be my observation, and he's been in contact with Chris. So it's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of extending the deadline on 521 21st Street for another 2 weeks, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Passes on a vote of 3-0. 1000 Van Tower Drive is next on the list.
Is there anyone here for 1000 Van Tower Drive? Would you please come forward? Can you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Doug Hines. My address is 935 Argyle Avenue in Flossmoor, Illinois.
What's the name of the street?
Argyle, like the Sox, A-R-G-Y-L-E.
Okay.
And would you please explain to the board what we discussed right before the meeting?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
There's certainly been a long history of failure of the Mr. Hellier and whoever was living there within the house to comply with the requests of Mr. Franklin surrounding the status of the property. After the most recent sort of gyrations here, as of yesterday, I believe I've reached an agreement with them to move, to vacate the property. They say that they've located a place that they're going to, which is also apparently outside of the city limits. I don't frankly know where. My goal is to try to make that transition happen as soon as possible, but I was explaining to Chris that even if I was to file to evict, if they weren't taking place today, it probably takes me, given the timeline that I have to have for service for them, viable service before the judge, and then what the judge will allow them for time to vacate, even if I filed today, it probably takes me about 45 days to get them completely free and clear of the property, such that I could ask for the sheriff to go in and order them to be gone. So my goal is to move them away from the property, secure it, clean it up on the outside such that there's nothing outside. They have made what I think are significant strides versus what the original concerns were. I visited the property again this morning. I think with the exception of securing the shed and cleaning out, there are 2 tractor tires that have been on the property for as long as I've owned it, and I think probably 30 years before that. With the exception of cleaning that out, they it's I'm not sure about those. My understanding was that they needed to move their truck box, they needed to move their mowers. They've now moved most of the stuff that I've seen on the yard into the garage. That they did put a garage door on, but they always seem to fall short. They don't seem to be capable of. I've told them repeatedly that the standard actually is the house right next door to them. There's a large similar construction house, green in color. I've told them repeatedly that's what the standard is in terms of how I want the property to look. They don't appear to be able to comply.
Okay.
So I have what I believe is their agreement to move on,
Okay.
and I'm going to try to implement
You
that.
said within 45 days you thought they would be out of there?
I think I can,
Okay.
Even if I have to implement eviction, I think I can make that happen.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we order the property cleanup to take place 45 days from now. That gives you 45 days to have them move out and get it cleaned up. And so that will sort of make sure that everything stays on track here. I know that we have somewhat of a history with this. Our file goes back to at least 2012. I think there is, even you've acknowledged that they've fallen short of expectations and certainly fallen below the threshold of our ordinance and what our property maintenance ordinance calls for. It's a little bit hard for you to monitor that from Illinois, and I can respect the position that you're in. But at the same time, we want to find that fine line, that balance that allows you to be a business person yet also adhere to our community standards. We have raised the bar here, and I think it's going to be hard for you to do anything with that, knowing that they've been the problem that they have been. It's hard for you to clean up one mess when they make another one just as fast. But 45 days was the timeline that you mentioned that they would be out of there. And if we give you 45 days, you can remain focused on that and know that 45 days from now, the property will be cleaned up if you haven't done it.
Okay.
That is in the form of a motion that we extend the time, or we order a property cleanup for 1000 Van Tower Drive to take place 45 days from today. That would be 6 weeks and 3 days.
18th of June is 6 weeks.
June 18th. We're going to say June 18th. This
Second that.
properties must be cleaned up by June 18th, or we will, on the morning of June 18th, show up and clean up the property and bill the property owner. That's in the form of a motion. It's been properly seconded. Is there any more discussion?
I do have one more thing. There appears to be a couple of windows that do not have windows in them. Do you plan on?
As soon as I can
Dealing with that
get them
too,
out,
so
really
is
get
there-
ownership of the
Okay.
property back, I'll board the windows that are open until such time as I can begin the renovation on the property.
Okay. And you might also want to be aware that there's an ordinance in place that prohibits plywood from going over windows for more than a 6-month period. So we will aggressively follow up on that one as well. Plywood is not a permanent fixture anymore. So just giving you the courtesy of a heads up on that. You may want to...
I wasn't aware of that, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so June 18th, property order, the motion was to have a property cleanup done at the property located at 1000 Van Tower Drive if you haven't successfully and cleaned up to the standard that's, the code enforcement officer will inspect it and tell us, advise us if it's good enough or not.
I understand. My only request is when I believe what I've achieved to be the standard, I'd like to be able to meet up with Mr. Franklin there and verify that we are good to go.
Absolutely, as long as it's done by June 18th. Don't call us on the 19th and say, I'm ready for an inspection. The 18th, we will do it ourselves. That's in the form of a motion. It's been properly seconded. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
700 Washington Street is the next one. We have photographs. All these 700 Washington. That is Van Tower.
This is at least the third violation I've written on this property.
700 Washington?
Yes.
Okay. Proper notifications have been made,
Yes.
registered mail.
Yes, I believe they were here. They were part of the 2-week notice 2 weeks ago. I don't know if they were present or not.
I make the motion that we order a property cleanup at 700 Washington Street.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there anybody here representing 700 Washington Street? Hearing none. It's been moved and properly seconded to order a property cleanup at 700 Washington Street. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0. Thank you, George. Under new business, we have a contract approval. Again, this is a request by the State Board of Accounts that approves actions that have previously taken place. This seems to be the direction that the State Board of Accounts is requesting, not only in Logansport, but throughout the state of Indiana this year. They have a new State Board of Accounts director, and he would like layers of approval on, in particular, contracts. And I think this message has been received loud and clear throughout the state. This just authorizes what has already taken place and has been in place for the last 18 months. So I would make the motion to approve the contract with Reedy Financial Services that's been in place since late in 2012.
I would second that.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0. We have a curb cut request from NIPSCO at 816 West Market Street. They want to retire a gas line. Is there anybody here from NIPSCO? Looks to be pretty standard.
Do you know if all the guys of the department heads have signed off on the sign off on there?
Usually not.
Okay.
It's with notification.
Mayor Franklin,
Yes.
Dan Williams, it's passed by him, and he gave his approval.
Yeah. Okay.
Dan
Dan-
Williams?
Dan has approved it. The others just require or a notification of the 911 dispatch center so that they can dispatch the trucks and notify them of the obstruction that may or may not be there. I'd make a motion that we approve the application for a curb cut related to the property at 816. I'm sorry, it's a street cut, technically, to retire a gas line at 816 West Market Street.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0. Next, we have a request from Jeannie Kleppinger, All Saints Church entrance replacement. Yeah. please come forward. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Thank you for being here. Would you state your name for the record?
Jeannie Kleppinger,
Okay.
All Saints Parish Business Manager.
Okay. Jeannie, you have a request here. I'm sure the board has the opportunity to review this. This has been through the review committee of the Plan Commission, and it really looks nice. I'm really happy with what you're doing there. It looks like obviously a lot of planning, a lot of effort has gone into this, and I'm excited for what it's going to do to that corner. It's going to dress it up even more. It looks wonderful. And I would ask if there's any discussion, any questions from the board. Okay, I would make a motion to approve the request to change the, to approve the changes being proposed at All Saints Church, which is located at, help me, what's 112 East Market Street here in Logansport.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Williams?
I got in a little bit late at the meeting. There was some discussion about adding lights or light poles, and they were talking about having to cut up the sidewalk
Mm-hmm.
to run the wiring, and I'm just asking for my information since I'm in charge of the sidewalks. Has that been discussed, and do we have a plan for the?
Bob Dunderman came
Right.
to visit with me,
Okay.
and he is putting a plan together, and he's
Okay.
going to give it to Paul Hartman, and then we'll have a discussion. But the discussion was new lighting
Right.
completely down, and our discussion at the meeting on Monday was what would happen down here, because this is bad sidewalk, and we were told not to replace it by the state at one point because they were going to put stormwater through here. So we've not done that, but if that's not going to happen, we'll eventually replace all the concrete, and with that, we would want to do the streetscape.
Okay.
But it all has to do with dollars and cents.
Okay, that's the only.
Yeah, and there's still some unknowns regarding stormwater and how we're going to deal with that. It's a gargantuan in size project. It's going to take millions of dollars, and we're trying to leverage some city money with some state money and be able to do that, but we just don't know yet. So,
That's what they told us on Monday.
yeah, I certainly appreciate your concern for that. Nobody wants to see you put in sidewalk only to have us tear it out 6 months later. So, we're very aware of that. But we have a motion and a second to approve the plans that have been submitted regarding improvements to 112 East Market Street. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dutch Mill, we have a request from Ken Westcott to do a benefit for Lori Huddleston, a deceased cancer patient, to help the family with expenses. Ken, thanks for being here. This is it's getting to be old hat with you. We're getting to do this once a year, and I appreciate you doing it and taking the interest. Yeah. We have Chief of Police in the back. He's had some concerns in the past. This is the third one that you've done?
I think it's the second one outside.
Second one outside, okay. I know we've talked about this in the past, and the chief had some concerns last year about blocking the street. Mike, would you like to weigh in on this? It's the same thing that's been there before.
Right, it is the same thing. I just have, I mean, it worked out fine, but I have concerns about the intersection of Burlington and Cliff. Just, if people, I think we're talking about putting a sign up.
Yeah.
And trying to slow them down or that's the only thing, but it has worked out fine in the past, and we haven't had any issues, but I do have a concern of it.
Okay.
Not that we can't work through it.
Right.
Well, if we get the street blocked off, it's going to be the same way that when they had the road construction down there. We had it blocked off there for like 6 months, and there's never any issues. What I was hoping to do is get a like piece of plywood or a sign or something put out at both angles of on Burlington there, so people coming across the bridge will, have a sign that says bar parking only or event parking only, with a road sign, road closed sign also, just for that day. mean, we never had any issues, but I could see how it could be,
Right. Yeah, there haven't been any issues, but like I said, it does concern me,
Yeah.
just for safety reasons, but, we worked through it in the past.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Everything appears to be in order. There's a certificate of liability insurance for a minimum of $1 million. And everything appears to be in order. You've complied to every request in the past, and I have no reason to think that you won't do it this time. So I would make a motion to approve the request for a road closure on May 17th between 12 o'clock noon and 11 p.m.
Second?
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any more discussion? I would note that all departments have signed off on this, Dan Williams, Mike Clark, and Mark Strong. It's been moved and properly seconded. There's no more discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Passes on a vote of 3-0. Thank you, Ken.
thank you.
Looking forward to it. I'll be there. I'm in the dunk tank for a whole hour.
Well, I look forward to that.
Should make a lot of money that day.
What day is that?
Yeah.
May 17th. Under reports, this is the last Wednesday of the month, and there are no reports due today. Are there any board member comments?
None.
Hearing none. Miscellaneous business, including ADA Section 504 compliance and concerns, or any other matters not already considered? Hearing none. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.